Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we dive deep into the history of the Polish nobility. The Polish nobility makes a very interesting case as they were more numerous and enjoy more political power than their European counterparts. They even managed to start a political system based on elective monarchy. Today, we will talk to our special guest, Jan Dąbrowski, a philosopher and a member of the Polish nobility. Poland has been wiped out of the political map for over a century until after World War I they regained their independence. And I was wondering, what role does the Polish nobility play after World War I?
Well, formally in 1921 with the new constitution, all the aristocratic titles and all privileges were abandoned, diminished, erased from the political system.
Okay.
And this has to be mentioned because it's very important. Because then in 1935, later on, we had another constitution in April 1935, and that constitution, 4 years before the World War II, in a way returned to what was before. I mean, that was not a constitution which was expressis verbis in letters, in paragraphs, was denying the titles or the fact that someone could be a nobleman or aristocrat. No, in 35, but in 21 years, because there was this very strong socialist movement and people's movement, and the country was totally impoverished. There was famine. Your president, Theodore Roosevelt, saved I don't know how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of human beings here, because Hoover organized the food supply for reborn Poland at that time, just after the World War I. You know? Right. The country was, because the country of Poland is a flat land, like you have flatland, there's flat land in America. Yes, and the armies, they were fighting. You know, on one side you had countries. You had German army and Austrian army. On the other, Russians. So until 1915 or 16, the Russian occupied or stayed, because they didn't have to occupy. It was their territory. Yes, in Warsaw, and then it was Prussian army, which was here, was in power here, but this army were fighting and moving on the territory of Poland, and Polish soldiers were taking part in the fight in these three armies, one against another, you know, including my own father, my mother's father.
What about the financial conditions of the nobility and the aristocracy? Do they still live off of the land? Do they still keep farming, or where do their income or wealth come from?
Yes, they did, but the country was so ruined, so plundered after the Great War, the World War I, and that they didn't have economic means. And they didn't have income, because the prices for the products were so low. They dropped in the beginning of 20s with a huge inflation. There was enormous inflation, not like it was a few years ago in America. You know, it was like in Weimar, like in Germany. You know, that people were handling suitcases full of money which were worth nothing. You know, and there was a minister of nobleman, by the way, as well, Stanisław Grabski, and he made 2 or 3 reforms. He was a very important figure, and he was prime minister at a certain time at the beginning of 20s. And he created a basis for a very strong currency, Polish zloty. And Polish zloty at that time was a very strong currency. But that fact provoked the situation that the agricultural products were selling for nothing, you know, sugar, grains, you know, cattle, you know, that was going for export, but for nothing, you know. And people were in the countryside were relatively poor. Not as poor as in the communist Soviet Union. No, there was no comparison. But poor in comparison with more richer and well-organized countries of Western Europe, you know. But that was due to the economic changes, to this.
Of course, it's like a big environmental change.
Yes. So for them, they had this position in the society, like aristocracy and noblemen, but they didn't have cash. They didn't have money. They didn't have possibility to invest, to be well off. You know,
right.
It didn't pay back. You know, they stayed in their handling affairs, in their manors or palaces more because of the family obligation than. Rather than because it was paying back. No, it was not. It was not a business at that time. And from both sides, because that can be interesting as well, my both grandfathers were specialized in the two different parts of Poland, one in Prussia, one in Russia, Russian Empire, but in the Kingdom of Poland, they were cultivating beetroot to produce sugar, because the sugar industry it was something new at the 19th century, and that was one of the best and giving the biggest profits branches of agriculture industry in 19th century and in the 20th, you know. So they in both families they did it because they have very good soil, you know. So they have relatively they were well off, but in the matter of fact, what grandmother was telling me, her portrait is over there, that my grandfather Szlaski and grandfather Dąbrowski told me that personally explained me that it was practically impossible to earn their lives, you know. They were just trying to keep the property, not to sell it, but it was not something which was giving you the profit, you know. So from the capitalistic point of view, it was economic nonsense, you know, because you were working 5, 10, 15 years and with no economic results.
Marshal Piłsudski had started his political career within the ranks of the socialist movement, but became more of a centrist once Poland had regained its independence. After taking power in a military coup in 1926, he decided to reach out to the nobility at a famous meeting with their representatives in the Nieshwierz castle in order to expand his power base. You were telling me that the nobility after the First World War isn't as well off as they were, but I also know that Marshal Piłsudski did put an effort into mending that relationship with the nobility. Can you tell me more about how it was carried out?
Yes, that was the famous meeting at the castle of Nieshwierz of Prince Radziwiłł, and Piłsudski there as a naczelnik. Naczelnik is something more very specific for Polish political culture, because there was Naczelnik Kościuszko, who is a hero of United States and Poland, because he created West Point, and he was fighting for freedom of America at that time, at the time of Washington, of President Washington, and Naczelnik was Piłsudski as well, and Marshal Piłsudski. So he invited, he realized that he cannot because he was member of a Polish Socialist Party, you know, and he and his brother, they were true socialists, you know, as he had this political convictions, you know, on the socialist side. So his heart was on the left side, one can say. But he realized that Poland cannot be run and well governed if you are always against the traditional wealthy classes, you know. I mean aristocracy and noblemen and landowners, you know, gentry, land gentry. So because those people they had influence. Of course, they had sympathy. Mostly not directed to the left side, but Piłsudski himself was very well born from very good Lithuanian nobility, and his mother as well, Bilevichówna. So he had an easy access, and he was apparently he was a charming person, a charming interlocutor, and very easy man. So for the aristocrats and noblemen he met in Nieśwież, you know, he appeared. His new face was shown because he had opinion of somebody who was because in the matter of fact before the World War I to organize money for the socialist movement, they were attacking banks and post coaches, you know, with money and gold. So from the point of view of the conservative part of Polish society at that time, he was an anarchist, you know. He was somebody dangerous. He had opinion of in these circles. He had opinion of a dangerous man, you know.
Of course. As we learned today, the Polish aristocracy played an important role in Polish history, and also they formed the backbone of Polish cultural life. That's it for today. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.